Welcome back.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
How long ago was our last episode?
Well, we did record an episode, but technical difficulties.
That's right, technical difficulties. And by technical difficulties, Aaron means Casey difficulties.
Yeah, the techie can't do anything around here.
Can't do anything.
That's what I've learned. So we did record an episode, but we didn't actually record an episode.
Yeah, but don't worry. It was not.
It was
very
actually
good.
Maybe our worst episode.
Yeah.
It was actually fine.
Yeah.
I feel like we were arguing, and I was just like, I don't even care to like try to litigate this.
Yeah, I'm always thinking whenever we argue about something, I'm like, well, like on the podcast, I'm like, well, like, is this? I definitely want to argue, but is this good content?
Yeah, it's not. Well, the thing that I actually do like about arguing with you is that oftentimes people will come in the comments and defend my side.
Yeah.
There's
female privilege.
Yeah, there's very few times, if ever, that we're arguing about something and then later I see a comment where someone's like, he was right. Free
Never.
market for the win, baby. It's usually me being like, well, there's this little critique I have, and you're like,
don't be
nope.
mean to Aaron.
Yeah, exactly. So that could have happened, but I honestly didn't want it. But it's fine. We have a very special theme this week.
Very special theme.
Yeah.
The theme is inscriptions.
Inscriptions launched on mainnet.
Yeah, inscriptions launched on mainnet.
Did you do it on the day of the new moon in Aquarius?
No, it was this last Friday. So it was, Tuesday, Monday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 days ago.
Well, the new moon was at noon on Saturday. So
close
pretty
enough.
much, within 24 hours probably.
Yeah, that's right. Within 24 hours.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a good utilization of the energy.
That's right. Yeah. So, what are inscriptions? Aaron, do you want to cover this for our audience?
Inscriptions are NFTs on Bitcoin.
No. Oh, yes.
You don't like it, but that's the case.
It's the case. It's true. Yeah. Inscriptions are NFTs on Bitcoin. I really don't like the term NFT because it's confusing. NFT stands for non-fungible token. Nobody knows what fungible means. Token has sort of a finance kind of ring to it,
or a video game kind of feeling to it. That's what I associate it with.
Yeah. I associate it with tokens, ICO tokens, shitcoin tokens.
I think people like NFT. Well, I don't know if NFTs, but I think NFTs caught on because it's an acronym that when you explain it, it doesn't explain anything. And so it makes people feel either it's something that's oh, well, if I don't get it, it's because it's actually just very technical and I couldn't possibly understand it. But it also allows for people to kind of meme it and make fun of it because no one understands it. So it's it's negative attention, I think, on all sides, but that works in the favor of NFTs as a concept.
Yep. So inscriptions are NFTs. I prefer the term digital artifact for inscriptions.
Do you?
Yeah, all NFTs, all digital artifacts are NFTs, but not all NFTs are digital artifacts.
Okay, explain that.
Yeah, so NFTs, for example, I'll just pick on Ethereum because Ethereum's NFTs are the most popular. Ethereum NFTs have a lot of really weird properties. So one is that oftentimes the content is off-chain, and the content might be on some completely non-decentralized storage, literally sitting on somebody's web server somewhere. So the image that you see with an NFT is not on chain on Ethereum. It's on some server. And that means that it can go away or it can be changed. And this is very surprising to people. A lot of people think that, it's on chain somehow, or it's on the blockchain, and so it can never change. But in fact, the ERC 721 specification, which is the spec to which all Ethereum NFTs must conform, explicitly allows linking to content anywhere. It can be off-chain, it can be on-chain, it can be on IPFS, it can be on Arweave or one of these other sort of non-functional platforms. And it's very hard to tell the difference. To the consumer, there's a huge difference for where it's stored, for its durability and its mutability. But users don't, there's nothing that really tells users where things are. The other thing is that, so this is one reason that NFTs is sort of a bad concept because it's used to refer to things that don't have the properties that people actually want out of NFTs. Another property that NFTs often have that people fundamentally don't want is that a lot of the time they have backdoors or security vulnerabilities or limitations on what you can do with them. each ERC 721 NFT is a smart contract and understand exactly what it does and if it has security vulnerabilities and if you can actually like, if the user really owns the NFT and can dispose of it as they wish, you have to go in and audit each NFT's individual smart contract individually. And this is like a specialized activity, which is very hard to do and nobody does it. I see some brow furrowing over there.
Okay. So when people so first of all, do people usually just generally make NFTs on Ethereum, or are there other things that people use for NFTs?
NFTs are on a lot of platforms. Basically every altcoin these days has NFT functionality. Sort of old school altcoins like like a Doge or Litecoin don't really have NFT functionality. Although I guess they're both forks of Bitcoin, so somebody could port.
We need ordinals for Dogecoin.
Yeah, they could port inscriptions and ordinals to Doge. But there's Solana, which is kind of popular because it's like high transaction volume. Although Solana is like shitcoin par excellence. There's also Tezos. Tezos got popular because it was an early proof of stake chain. And so artists who wanted to avoid the perception that they were on like dirty blockchains would use Tezos.
Okay.
So I've
definitely heard of Tezos NFTs.
Yeah, it's the clean NFT meme.
Right.
But Ethereum is the dominant market, the vast majority of the volume, and where the highest value, highest prestige NFTs live and are traded.
But then the actual like smart contract writing, like who does that? Is it just that, because I've never made an NFT on Ethereum, so it's hard for me to kind of imagine, like, it's not like the artist is like writing up that contract themselves or like has a lawyer to write up that contract for them, or a dev or whatever.
Dev,
it's like,
not a lawyer. Devs write smart contracts,
I'm
not
just
lawyers.
like imagining like that there's like yeah, I don't know. I'm just picturing like how one actually goes about navigating this. Is it that there's platforms on which you mint NFTs, and those platforms sort of have their The reason why I say lawyers, just like I imagine that the differences between different platforms would probably be like the various things that is important to an artist.
Yeah, well,
like if it's all happening on Ethereum, then the thing that would differentiate some like would just be like, on this one your art is copyright this, or on this one your art is whatever.
Yeah. So this is actually a huge. So deploying smart contract based NFTs is the UX is like pretty bad and it's pretty complicated. So most of the time, no, artists are not writing their own contracts. But early on, it was only devs really who could create ERC 721 tokens, could create NFTs on Ethereum, because they had to be able to either write their own smart contract or reuse an existing smart contract and use these like very complicated tools to publish it and host the content and do all that stuff.
That's kind of like right now. What Ordinals?
No, actually, on Ordinals, the experience is already much better. In
terms of like usability?
In terms of usability, yeah. Because you download and sync Bitcoin Core, you download and sync Ord, and then you run a command. And you give it your file, and you say, I want to inscribe
that's so easy.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is that Ordinal inscriptions are uniform in their functionality. They're not smart contracts that can have arbitrary functionality and like weird limitations. So really what differentiates them is their content and who made them. And that's what people actually want out of NFTs. If you look at the vast majority of NFTs, that any sort of like smart contract functionality that comes on Ethereum is like not important at all. Nobody actually wants that. So anyways, these days though, for Ethereum, people use these like second layer, these like platforms that are like, a website that you go to and you upload all your PNGs or whatever, your JPEGs to the website, and then you hit publish and then it publishes for you. And so those are pretty streamlined. So these days it's a little better for artists. It's still pretty bad. I tried to use the best one and it was like insanely complicated. And you can see, and this is like the best, most user-friendly thing that people were raving about for minting NFTs on Ethereum. And you could see that it's based on this really horrible, complicated stack that is like Ethereum and Web3. And the complexity at the lower levels like bleeds through the top levels. They're like, oh, you've got to do this contract. You've got to do this stuff. You don't have to write the contract yourself, but you have to like add some stuff to it, and you can do all these parameters and stuff. So the user experience is already really bad. I would say any motivated person who's like a little technical, not that technical, could figure out how to make inscriptions. And that's not possible from like the early days of Ethereum NFTs, where it's really like devs only.
And does that come from just like you sort of making decisions about like, this is what people want and this is kind of the product that we're offering, or like, you know, whatever, what's available to people?
Right.
Or is it, I guess I'm just trying to understand, like, why are there even different ways of doing it on Ethereum?
Right. So honestly, a lot of this just comes from the fact that Ethereum is like really poorly designed. It's just really poorly designed. And these specs, like the ERC 7021 spec, is not well thought out. And even the idea of Ethereum specs as interfaces is also not well thought out. ERC 721, which defines Ethereum NFTs, is an interface that contracts must adhere to in order for them to be NFTs on Ethereum. So it just defines the sort of outer like functions that exist, like what functions you can call and what kind of data you're supposed to get back. But the implementation is completely arbitrary. After you go into these like standardized interface points, the actual implementation of the smart contract is completely up to the author of the NFT. So the issue with that sounds great on the surface, but the issue with that is that in reality, everybody wants the same thing from NFTs. Everybody wants NFTs that are permissionless. Everybody wants NFTs that are immutable. Everybody wants NFTs that are arbitrarily transferable, where they don't have to ask anybody for permission. And everybody wants NFTs that are secure. And so the flexibility to determine the implementation for each ERC 721 token, to determine its own implementation, just leads to a bad outcome where the best NFTs are the ones that like just do what everybody wants. And the worst NFTs are ones that like fuck it up somehow. And inscriptions basically just do what everybody wants. I mean, not to like, you know, say that there's nothing that smart contracts don't give you with NFTs, but, you know, as we've seen what collectors want, what collectors enjoy, we've seen that collectors have very specific tastes. You know, they want something that can't be taken from them, that they can do whatever they want, that's secure, that's on chain, and inscriptions just implement that in the protocol. And so each individual inscription author gets all that for free without having to specify it and without adding any complexity. And each collection, like if you go to the ordinals.com website, I should be saying ordinals.com.
Ordinals.com. We can have a little banner going at the bottom.
Yeah, every 30 seconds. You go to ordinals.com and you see all those like images and PNGs and SVGs and audio and video and everything that's up by now. Like they all have the properties that collectors want, and they don't need to think about it. They don't need to look at each one individually and see where it's stored, see the smart contract, see the license, see the terms behind it. It's all these like on-chain objects that just do what NFTs should do.
It's kind of nice. Like, I feel like a lot of times with Bitcoin, you don't get the benefit of like seeing something play out and then like implementing it on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And in this situation, it's like you've kind of gotten to see how NFTs have played out and like the pros and cons and the bad and the good. And then you get to be like, okay, now let's bring it to Bitcoin.
Exactly. Yeah. Like basically I just looked at what the best NFTs are and the emerging, in addition to some emerging trends and what people want to do with NFTs on Ethereum. And I just wrote a good spec, wrote a good protocol, and just did it that way from the beginning. We'll talk later about like future features, but there's features that are coming that I'm very excited about, and ways that inscriptions already materially improve on ERC 721 NFTs. Like the features are actually better. They're actually features right now that ERC 721 NFTs don't have, and they're great features.
Should you get into those?
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, so one thing that you can do, so inscriptions are numbered. Every inscription has a number. The first one is numbered at 0 because we're programmers. We start counting from 0. Right. And each one has a number, and you can go through and see single inscription that's ever been made. So you can go to ordinals.com/inscriptions. And then you can press actually on ordinals.com, there's not more than 100. So you don't need to press the arrows to see more of them. But let's say people have made 1,000 inscriptions. You can go to ordinals.com and page through every single inscription that's ever been made. You can enumerate them. This is non-trivial on Ethereum. You would have to scrape the chain for every single contract that has ever been deployed that implements the ERC 721 specification to find the contracts that are NFTs. And then even then, each contract can have multiple NFTs inside of it, and enumerating those NFTs is non-trivial. Like figuring out like what are the NFTs that this contract contains, because they're kind of like black boxes with code inside, and you sort of can't tell what like, oh, each contract has IDs. Do the IDs start at 0? Are the IDs like long hex strings?
I imagine it also helps that ordinals are actually on chain rather than having to like chase down whatever outside content or links.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one thing. You can enumerate all of the inscriptions, and there's a total order of inscriptions. So that also lets you say when each inscription was published. So you get like an ironclad timestamp on each inscription, which is not possible with Ethereum because Ethereum contracts are mutable. Even if a contract, you could have an NFT on Ethereum, which you think is the earliest instance of that NFT, but somebody could go back and modify a previously deployed contract to have that exact content, and you wouldn't be able to tell without some sleuthing which one of those NFTs came first. So ironclad timestamping, which comes from the Bitcoin time chain, is already a feature of inscriptions. As I said, they're all on chain. That's a great feature. They have native support for a whole bunch of formats. So they support PNGs, JPEGs, GIFs, SVGs, HTML. SVGs and HTML both sandboxed very carefully so that they can't access outside resources. So even if you're viewing an HTML inscription in your browser, you can be confident that it's not requesting random resources from the rest of the web, which means that it really is self-contained, and what you're seeing is really what's in the transaction.
I like the idea that like Bitcoin is, well, I don't want to steal other people's ideas that I'm sort of collaborating with for this one, but I like the idea of like Bitcoin being this like big, like long time chain structure that like we're getting to like write our little like...
absolutely you want to do graffiti on Bitcoin. You want to be like the guy in the Roman Colosseum who's like, Babacus was here.
It's like a cave drawing. Yeah. It's like, or like like you're inscribing something in like the Pyramid of Giza or something like that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is going to be around forever. It's incredibly pleasing to me to have helped create something that will definitely outlive me.
Yeah.
Like it's never going away.
Yeah. You dressed as Trump will like outlive your image.
That's right.
Yeah.
People will come to worship it one day, I assume.
I told Casey it was going to be the new Pepe.
Casey, I really don't want somebody somebody took screenshots from our democracy episode and then made inscriptions with screenshots of me as Trump. Don't know how I feel about that. I'm worried that I want somebody needs to do an AOC inscription, an Aaron as AOC inscription.
No one has told me.
Please do an Aaron as AOC inscription. Somebody.
Me as the capitalism elf.
Capitalism elf.
Cottagecore elf.
Yeah, actually do two, like the duality of woman.
Okay, where were we?
Maybe so. One question is like, how do inscriptions relate to ordinals, and how do inscriptions actually work? Because honestly, the details are like, I'm incredibly proud of all the details of how inscriptions work.
I can tell.
Yeah. I was at a meetup a few months ago, and I was like describing inscriptions to somebody, and they were like, oh, so they're just like NFTs. And I was like, yeah, they're better. But they were like, oh yeah, who cares about the details? And I was like, no, the details are everything.
You don't care about the details until the details come to fuck you over.
That's right.
You know?
And ultimately, like, this is an art project. And so the details need to be aesthetic.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
So for over a year now, I've been working on this Ordinals thing, which is, as you can refer to in our Ordinals episode.
Yeah.
Link there. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Ordinals are a way of giving individual identities to sats and tracking them across transactions. It's sort of like a convention to make sats non-fungible. And it doesn't hurt Bitcoin's privacy and fungibility because it's a convention. If you don't opt into it, you don't get it. You don't see ordinal numbers. So ordinals were actually created entirely so that I could figure out a way to do NFTs on Bitcoin. And the reason that ordinals enable NFTs on Bitcoin or inscriptions on Bitcoin, digital artifacts on the time chain, is that the inscriptions are actually made conceptually on individual sats. So the inscription content is included in a Bitcoin transaction in something called an envelope in the witness in a Taproot script spend. And that content becomes associated with one of the sats in the output of that transaction. And then that sat becomes inscribed with that content. And the owner of that inscription is the person who owns that sat. And so forever forward in that sat's lifetime, when it's being transferred with the ordinal transfer algorithm, when you go look at it in like a ordinal block explorer, you see that inscription. You see that inscribed sat.
Can the inscription ever be erased?
No, never.
Can you make an inscription on literally every single sat?
No, you can only do it on sats that you control in your possession.
But could, like in theory, an ordinal be made on every, or like an inscription be made on every single ordinal?
Yes, it would take billions, possibly trillions of years because there's 2.1 quadrillion sats that you would have to inscribe.
But what if this becomes like, you know, like when they're digging up like the Bitcoin node, like buried in in the erosion of like the mega flood or whatever, and they look at the Bitcoin time chain and they see all these like little memes and symbols and they're like, what was this, their language?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's people, I'm telling you, it's gonna happen.
And I also like the idea that like when you do it, like, okay, if there was like, let's say there were like ordinal inscriptions just kind of like flying around, like that some people just made ordinal inscriptions and then didn't really care and they just kind of like used Bitcoin as money, and yet those ordinals still had inscriptions on them. Those sats still had inscriptions on them. Like that when you do transfers, there would still be these like little like Casey dressed up as Trump or like a crypto dick butt or whatever that's like transferring around as well.
And ordinals, like the ordinal like sats, like, I mean, ordinals, like I always like the nouns is confusing, but like sats with the ordinal transfer algorithm behave a lot like Bitcoin. They're held in Bitcoin UTXOs naturally. They are secured by Bitcoin addresses. They're transferred in normal Bitcoin transactions. And so they can be held, for example, in multi-sig wallets. They can be held in vaults. You can secure them with hardware wallets. They can be used to pay fees. They can be sent around in any arbitrary way. And so inscriptions, because they're on sats, tracked with like the ordinal transfer algorithm, inherit all these nice properties of Bitcoin. They can be held within normal Bitcoin wallets, although normal Bitcoin wallets don't perform SAT control, so they might lose your sats and inscriptions. They can be held secured by normal Bitcoin addresses. They can be sent in normal Bitcoin transactions, which means that those transactions can be signed by hardware wallets. They inherit all the functionality of Bitcoin, which is distinct, for example, from a protocol called Counterparty, which was like the OG NFT protocol on Bitcoin, where it doesn't integrate with the rest of the Bitcoin. It's really this layer on top of Bitcoin, and it's like only really uses Bitcoin as a messaging layer. And as a result, for example, you can't hold a counterparty asset in a Bitcoin multi-sig wallet because they're just different layers. They don't talk to each other. Whereas inscriptions, they're on sats using the ordinal transfer scheme, which was designed to be super orthogonal to Bitcoin and mesh really well with the Bitcoin protocol, inherit all these things from Bitcoin: multi-sigs, time locks, hardware wallets, everything.
So, okay. So now on ordinals.com, you have it so that you could
What's the name of that website?
Ordinals.com?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ordinals.com.
Ordinals.com. Hey, everyone, go to So Ordinals.com, you can check your UTXOs for rare sats right now, or just kind of look and see what ordinals you have, right?
Yeah.
Will you implement the ability to like look at your UTXO and see what inscriptions you have?
You can already do that.
Okay. But because I'm imagining, here's what I'm imagining as like a propaganda scheme. You make a bunch of ordinal inscriptions that have whatever message you're trying to deliver, and then you put those ordinals or you put those sats onto an exchange.
You know what is even sexier than that? You spend them as fees.
Spend them as fees.
Yeah, so you can spend an inscription as a fee in a block. You can make an inscription and then use those sats to pay fees. And then those inscriptions will then get assigned to the output of the Coinbase transaction, to the miner's output. And then when they spend that, eventually, those inscriptions will continue to circulate.
Well, wouldn't that happen if you put them into an exchange also?
Yeah, but it's not as putting it on as an exchange is not as cool as spending it in fees. So it just goes to the new Bitcoin and then circulates.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I just like the idea that with an exchange, like there could be someone who just like buys like 0.0001 of a Bitcoin, and then they're like,
Totally.
why do I have this racist meme? Like, why am I in possession of child porn? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea of like distributing to like the entire user base of like Coinbase or
you
something
could, you
like
could
that,
definitely
you
do
know?
that. Yeah. We could do like maybe like an astrology one that's like an automatic like chart. Like, what if you possibly with a designer friend of yours,
A designer friend of mine,
make a program that generates a astrology, like the position of all the planets as an SVG, and then we can put it on a computer program that every day just makes a new one and sends it out into the ether.
So you'd mint or inscribe an ordinal every day with the chart of the day.
That's right. Yeah. And then you just send it off into the ether.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
See, that's like, again, this is like when they're digging up the Bitcoin node and they're going through it and they're trying to parse through all these weird files. They'd like be able to be like, oh, this is where the planets were relative to the Bitcoin time chain, and then they can sync up those timelines.
Right. Yeah, that's
there
true.
We
yeah,
go.
there we go.
That's what all right. Perfect. Collaboration opportunity.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so, I mean, I guess one thing we should talk about is there's a little bit of controversy when you use Bitcoin for things that it wasn't intended for, or when you put stuff on the chain aside that isn't strictly necessary to make Bitcoin transactions.
Well, I thought Bitcoin was for my friends and for my enemies.
That's what I think. Yeah.
But yeah, controversies. Address the controversies.
Yeah. So
I honestly haven't seen that much.
Yeah, there's a little bit. It's a long-standing controversy, but yeah. So one of the reasons that it's such a big controversy is that back in 2014 or whenever the block size wars started like heating up, people basically just thought that you could put anything on Bitcoin, that you could use it as an arbitrary data storage layer, and that in fact the Bitcoin blockchain should grow in capacity to accommodate all these extra uses. And those people became known as big blockers. They wanted Bitcoin's block size to dramatically increase, and they made a lot of noise. A lot of miners and exchanges were in the big block camp, and they were sort of roundly defeated. And we still have a lot of PTSD from that time.
From the war.
Yeah, from the block size war. And a difference between me and big blockers is that I like the idea of storing art and memes and random shit on Bitcoin. And I think it's actually good for Bitcoin. And I am not an advocate of larger blocks. I don't think that Bitcoin is a dumping ground for whatever, and we should increase the size of the blocks to accommodate that. I think actually part of the reason that inscriptions are valuable is because they're scarce. And one thing that will keep them scarce is the limited block size, and also the fact that lots of people will be making other transactions, financial transactions. And in fact, I think inscriptions will remain a niche use of Bitcoin. And those financial transactions will compete with inscriptions for block space and will actually be much smaller and willing to pay much higher fees. And so I view it as like a feature, not a bug, that Bitcoin has a limited block size vis-a-vis inscriptions. And for the health of Bitcoin, I don't advocate for an increase in the Bitcoin block size. So I'm not a big blocker. Like I'm not in that
This
camp.
actually kind of came up when I was doing the Bitcoin View Twitter Spaces, and Tuesday at 6 p.m. PST. And we were talking about the Lightning Network.
How do they find it? How do they find the Bitcoin View Twitter space?
I mean, I usually retweet it so you can see it, like the link come up, but Isabel Fox and Duke hosts it. So follow
Realizing Aaron or Isabel
at
Fox.
Isabel Fox and Duke on Twitter to get in with the Bitcoin ladies chatting about whatever.
It's
on
good.
Tuesday
I was a guest for a problematic episode of The View. But then the next episode was really chill and awesome.
Well, the next episode, so I was talking about Ordinal because we were talking about the Lightning Network on that episode. It was kind of just like a free for all. We were just talking about whatever, which was really nice actually. But D++ was talking about the Lightning Network, and I was just kind of asking her questions about it. And one of the things that we were talking about is like, how often will someone actually ever need to open or close a channel? Like, let's say we're in this like hyper Bitcoinized world where like people are sending Lightning payments all over the place for buying their morning coffee. When in like a normal person's life would you ever have to open or close a channel? And because D++'s opinion is, I don't want to like mischaracterize her opinion, but the gist that I got is that like it would happen very rarely, if ever. Like you could pass down your Lightning channel to your children, essentially, you know, and you never necessarily have to close a Lightning channel. But then my question and Isabel's question was kind of like, well, how does the network stay secure if there are no like opening and closings, no transactions happening on the main network? Like who's going to be doing that? And then I was like, unfortunately, I think the luxury Ordinals art market is what's going to be maintaining the security of the network.
Right. Yeah.
Like in this world where like no one has to open or close channels.
I love that idea that it's like all these Lightning channels, they've been open for like hundreds of years, and the base layer is just used to trade like Pepe memes. It's just like gigs and gigs of Pepe memes and
luxury like Pepe. It's going to be like
Pepes.
It's going to be like museums, like trading back and forth, like. Yeah. Michelangelo.
And then like every once in a while an actual Bitcoin transaction like squeezes through.
Yeah, I can imagine like every once in a while there's like some giant financial institution that needs to settle something with some other giant financial institution, and they like do that on the main chain. And then it's just like Pepe's and like some, you know, mythology of some guy, bad orange man that like, wow, what if in the future they think you're
I'm Trump? Yeah, what if they think Trump copied me?
Oh my God, I would love that. They're like our first ever recorded image of this man.
Yeah, right. They think Trump was an occupation and not a person. Yeah. So the fee paying thing is actually, I mean, I think that demand for block space is good, and we do need fees long term to secure the network. And also, and Ordinals, obviously, inscriptions use block space, and so essentially provide unlimited demand for block space as long as people want to inscribe things.
Right, because and also like you can't trade an inscription over the Lightning Network.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
You have to do it on the network.
I can think of weird ways of doing it with something called coin pools, maybe, but inscriptions and ordinals in general are very hard to lift onto an L2
But
layer.
If you did put those sats in the Lightning Network, those inscriptions could just be like buzzing around. In the
Not really, because a sat can only be in one channel at a time. So the Lightning Network, you have these channels, and then conceptually, the money goes from the source to the destination. But in reality, it's actually all these separate channels, and it's just a few sats, different sats that are going across each channel. So if I open a channel with you, and when we close that channel, we can only get sats that were in our opening UTXO. We won't get sats from other people elsewhere on the Lightning Network.
Okay, so you only will get in the inscriptions that you will only take out the inscriptions that you put in
That's
theory.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
It is true though that
between you and another person.
Between you and another person, okay. Yeah. Because it is true that if inscriptions make it into UTXOs that are used in Lightning channels, they may naturally tend to circulate through the Lightning Network as channels get created with those inscriptions, closed, and maybe the person who gets the closing money will immediately put it into another channel with somebody else, in which case it could effectively circulate among participants of the Lightning Network.
Sure. Right. Wow. That's also going to be I feel like inscriptions just being locked away in the Lightning Network is also going to be pretty.
Also lost, that.
Exactly.
You see it went to fees, and you're like, oh shit, this Grail inscription was lost.
Yeah.
And then
fees
it
are not
emerges
lost,
on the market,
right? Because
no, but I mean it's held by lost to you and lost to inscriptions collectors.
Right.
And then maybe it appears on an exchange, and then the exchange has their engineers extract it from cold storage, and then it gets back on the market.
That's just I'm trying to think of anything else that exists like this.
Nothing. It's fucking bonkers. I mean, it's really like artifacts. It's really like physical artifacts that are created, lost, found, defaced, traded, stolen, everything. It has that vibe of real physical artifacts.
Once an inscription is made, can you update the inscription or change it in any way, or add a new inscription on?
Yeah.
One sat gets an inscription. Is that forever?
Yeah. Once one sat gets an inscription, it's forever. To support a number of other features, it's not currently possible, but we will allow making an additional inscription on the same sat. So a sat could have multiple inscriptions on it.
Why?
Because one of the primary reasons is that we want to enable multi-file inscriptions, where you create an HTML inscription that references multiple other files, and we want to allow people to put all of those files onto the same sat so that it always travels together. And the simplest way to do that is to allow multiple inscriptions on the same sat.
So is the limiting factor for multiple inscriptions size?
Ultimately, yeah, the limiting factor is always size. Is how much fees are you willing to pay, and staying under the 400,000 soft limit, 400,000 bytes soft limit per transaction, and the 4 million byte hard limit per block.
But that's the size limit, like the 400,000 or whatever is the limit. Like, let's say like you made an inscription that was like super small, and then like someone else got that, and then they made another.
No limit. You could make
just do that forever. But then if you wanted to fuck that over, you make a big one that like fills up almost the whole 400,000 or whatever.
No, the 400,000 is like a per transaction limit.
Oh, so you can just keep adding on, but you have to pay for the fee every time.
The
so it's not like like Ethereum NFTs where you can kind of just like shit out like 10,000 NFTs at once and be like,
yep.
Each NFT or each inscription, like would actually have some sort of cost basis to you to create.
And this is a huge feature of inscriptions, because on Ethereum, it's like you just pay the deploy cost for a smart contract. You put everything on IPFS, and that smart contract can contain 10 NFTs, 1,000 NFTs, 10,000 NFTs, 1 million NFTs. But to make an inscription on Bitcoin, each additional inscription costs some additional amount of money. And that means that there's not going to be just trash that people mint speculatively and are never able to sell.
Right.
People will only create inscriptions if they want them, if they think they're cool, or if they think that each one is going to be sold, or a significant percentage of them are going to be sold.
How much does it cost to inscribe an inscription right now?
So currently, this is sensitive to the amount of fees you pay and the price of Bitcoin. But at 20K Bitcoin and a fee rate of 1 sat per VByte, 100 kilobytes is, I believe, $5.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
And it's actually way cheaper than Ethereum. So
because gas fees, right?
Yeah, and Ordinals storing content and inscriptions they're stored in a way which is just ignored by the Bitcoin protocol. They're stored in transactions, and full nodes keep that data around, but the protocol just skips over it. They are stored in something that I call an envelope, which is a op false, op if, and then a bunch of data, and then an op end if. And so because the if statement always has a false in front of it, the contents of the if statement never get executed in the script. This is inside of a Taproot tap script. So it can be added to any transaction without affecting its meaning. And it is just ignored by Bitcoin full nodes. And so this makes it very efficient. On Ethereum, to store data on Ethereum, you actually got to like execute it. And there's like different storage classes, and it's like all fucked up. But because Bitcoin just ignores this data, it's very cheap as far as the base protocol is concerned. And then furthermore, it is stored in this structure called the witness, and the witness gets a discount relative to other bytes of a transaction. So the block limit is 4 million weight units, and each non-witness byte costs 4 weight units, and each witness byte costs 1 weight unit. So it basically gets a 75% discount relative to other transaction bytes. And this was intended to increase the block size and to encourage people to consolidate the UTXO set, because usually the witness is something that makes the UTXO set smaller, but I'm completely abusing it to just stick monkey JPEGs in there.
Free market.
Real kick in the teeth to the Taproot authors. I'm actually really curious what Peter Woola thinks about it. Peter Woola is one of the other authors of SegWit, and Taproot. Like, what do they think about it?
They created a monster.
They created a monster, yeah. Somebody, Dennis, I think his name was, on Twitter, wrote a good article about inscriptions recently, and he basically said, we thought we had settled the op return wars, but the Taproot authors accidentally blew it wide open, and now you can store
this
data.
Fucking guy.
And I saw on the Bitcoin Stack Exchange, which is a Q&A site for Bitcoiners. I saw somebody asking hey, I've seen these transactions with giant witnesses. What the fuck is going on? And somebody was like, oh yeah, that's Ordinals. Yeah. And so SegWit added this witness structure, but SegWit had pretty strict limits on what it could contain and size limits. Taproot retains the witness structure, and removes all limits on how big it can be. There's still one or two, and there's a soft limit of 400,000 bytes that still remains. But in general, Taproot is much less less conservative with the limits.
So someone noticed the inscriptions on like your testing, or is it they noticed it on mainnet?
They noticed it on mainnet. Yeah, they must.
So like less than 100 have been made, and it's already people notice.
I mean, they're quite anomalous. Like they're what? Like if you go to mempool.space, the Bitcoin block explorer, and you go to an inscription like a big one, and you click details, it's like hex fills the screen. You have to zoom out 100 times, and the rest of the website is super tiny, and then it's just a giant block of hex. Like it's great. Yeah, it's great.
It really is like a cave drawing. Like it's like everyone's just like going around the cave, like trading their little things and like hunter gathering, and then they're like, "Whoa, what's this guy doing?" Drawing an elephant on the wall over here.
One nice thing about inscriptions as opposed to other protocols on top of Bitcoin is that other protocols on top of Bitcoin, not like the Lightning Network. I don't think the Lightning Network is a bad incentive, but some of them can introduce bad incentives. So for example, people talk about stablecoins on Ethereum actually having a lot of power over how Ethereum hard forks, how Ethereum changes in the future. That there's so many stablecoins on Ethereum. So for example, Circle, USDC, and Tether that are so critical for the Ethereum like shitcoin ecosystem that the creators the entities that back those stable coins, if there are two competing forks of Ethereum and the Tether people just bless one of those forks as this is the one where we're going to honor the Tether on, that's the fork that's going to win straight up. Like there's kind of no, the Ethereum developers can say what they want, but they're going to be pretty constrained by these like large entities. Mm-hmm. So there's concerns that if, things like that were on Bitcoin, or if DeFi was on Bitcoin, it might introduce these negative externalities on Bitcoin that would, for example, influence fork choice, or that would create opportunities for MEV, which might lead to minor centralization. Ordinals are just like Ordinals and inscriptions. I just can't imagine any like negative externalities. Like it's so benign. It's just like people trading these like JPEGs, people making their little pieces of like cave graffiti and trading them. Like I can't imagine that that it would influence Bitcoin in a negative way.
Well, that's, of course you would think that because that part of your brain is locked away due to MK Ultra
experimentation. Right. Yeah. The sleeper cell is going to activate, and I'm just going to wake up in the middle of the night and change one line of code in the Ord code base that's going to like activate it, and then everything is fine.
You'll switch like two letters around and all of a sudden it's like
yeah. I've got like an Ultra MK function, and I change just Ultra and MK, and it becomes MK Ultra, and then it becomes evil.
I've like been saying to people that you are an MK Ultra sleeper agent. I'm like, I have to stop, but I can't stop. I can't stop saying.
I love it. I think it's hilarious at this point. So yeah, moving on. Talking a little bit about how inscriptions compare to other NFTs. So one is ERC 721 NFTs. Inscriptions are already, the low-level tools are already way more user-friendly. They're already way more secure. The tooling is already way better. The integration with Bitcoin is already there. And the high-level tools, like the graphical tools that people eventually use who are non-technical to make these things, will definitely be way more user-friendly. They are way more secure. I think I said that again. They're incredibly expressive, and they have a coherent data model that like somebody has actually thought about and designed. The data model of inscriptions is the data model of the web. Inscriptions are a piece of content and a content type, and those two things allow a browser to display them. And so they're going to be composable in this really cool way and have way better features. And they're already cheaper and scarcer, which is kind of a mysterious combination. Like they are on-chain storage is cheaper, but you can't just mint collections of 10,000. So they're both cheaper and scarcer than Ethereum NFTs.
Why are Ethereum NFTs so expensive?
Gas fees.
Why are gas fees so expensive?
Because with Ethereum, you don't just deploy the content. You have to deploy the contract too. You have to deploy the smart contract, which is different for every different NFT.
I see.
Yep. I actually figured out a way that I could make an Ethereum contract that had a lot of the benefits of inscriptions and brought them to Ethereum.
Don't tell them.
Yeah, that is left as an exercise to the reader. So then RGB and Taro are proposed protocols for mostly for like issuing tokens and doing some parts of DeFi on top of Bitcoin. I see inscriptions and RGB and Taro as not really competing with each other. Inscriptions and ordinals are tailored from the beginning for the digital artifact use case, from the art collectibles, NFTs, digital artifacts use case. And RGB and Taro from the beginning are more tailored towards the fungible token use case. So like stable coins, I guess you could do like ICOs, DeFi, stuff like that. So I think inscriptions are already way more user friendly than those tools, and they'll always be better for digital artifacts, for NFTs. But that doesn't really detract from the core value proposition of RGB and Taro. And then Counterparty is the OG Bitcoin asset NFT protocol that's on Bitcoin. Doesn't have great integration with Bitcoin. It has its own shitcoin, and it's so bad, man. It's so bad, and it's so shitty, and everything about it is shitty. So I think this is like inscriptions are a pure upgrade on Counterparty. They're way better than Counterparty. And
what was the token called?
XCP, I think.
Okay.
I think it's called the Counterparty token. I don't know what it's. Yeah. And so all Counterparty degens like come to inscriptions. You'll love them. You can run the tools. They're super easy. Like it's good shit.
What's next?
What's next? Yeah.
We're talking about what's next.
So big next feature is going to be collections and provenance. On Ethereum NFTs, each NFT exists in a collection. And so you can sort of see related collections of NFTs. And you can see who created an NFT. So you can see like this wallet created this NFT, and then there's sort of like this hierarchy.
So you can imagine. So right now you can't tell who created the inscription.
And then the namespace is flat. It's just this big list of inscriptions.
Okay. So you can imagine like after that's implemented, you as an artist could be like, here's my spring collection of Ordinal Inscriptions.
That's right. Yeah. And we have a really great plan for how to do this. I feel like Steve Jobs, when Steve Jobs talks about like the iPhone and like how great it is, that's me with inscriptions. But basically when you create an inscription, in that inscribed transaction, you can include one of your other inscriptions. And that other inscription, that pre-existing inscription that you include, will become the parent inscription of the new inscription that you create. And so what that does is it means then there's a sort of browsable tree of inscriptions. And you can say that an inscription contains a bunch of other inscriptions. And so you can go to inscriptions, on inscriptions, see the inscriptions inside of it, and then like click on those like sub-inscriptions. And that can be used both for provenance, like if you want to create an inscription that represents your identity, and then use that to create sub-inscriptions. Then you can see like, this one was created by the Aaron inscription. And for collections, where you can create an inscription representing the collection, and then mint all of the collection inscriptions using that inscription as the parent.
So like the way that one would actually go about like browsing around, like let's say you have an Ordinals inscription artist that you really like and you want to like browse through their collection. This would happen on ordinals.com.
Yeah, that's right. You would go to ordinals.com and you would click on, you would browse to their inscription, which represented them. And you would be able to see all the inscriptions that inscription had created, including like latest inscriptions. Some of those might be collections. So then you could click into those collections and see the inscriptions in there. This is
very cool.
This is something
you need an app.
Oh yeah, we definitely need an app. App is going to come eventually. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't see it on it.
No, app is not soon. But I'm really excited about this like hierarchical tree of inscriptions, because it's something that Ethereum doesn't have at all.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So next thing also is unique names or symbols. So I'm going to give inscriptions unique names, and it's only going to be possible, like no two inscriptions can have the same name, and so you can use them as unique short identifiers for each inscription.
So that would be like a username on a website.
Exactly. Yep.
Is the reason just to be able to reference? Because I thought they also have numbers, like starting from 0 to whatever.
That's right. They have numbers, but to have like another cool way of referencing them. Yep. Titles, which are like names, except they can contain any characters and they're not unique. So you can just give your inscription
so
like a
title. You have your Twitter username, but you also have your name.
Exactly.
And like your name can be whatever, but
exactly.
the username you're at has to be something that's unique.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. I like that.
Trustless and decentralized offers to buy and sell. I already have
the marketplace.
The marketplace, the free market. Yep. Because inscriptions work on ordinals, they transfer with ordinals. I have a sketch for a way that somebody who owns an inscription can offer it for sale by creating a partially signed Bitcoin transaction, and then they just send it out.
And then whoever is willing to sign has to pay whatever the offer is for the other signature.
Exactly.
Cool.
And it's like fill or kill.
Wow.
Yep. And also offers for offering to buy things. I can look at an inscription and say I want it, and then put out
if the other person agrees to sign.
Exactly. Yep. And those don't require a centralized exchange. They don't require a trusted counterparty. When you sell NFTs on OpenSea, you're actually giving OpenSea permission to do whatever they want with your NFTs.
Right.
So this doesn't require that. Next is composability, where you can have these HTML and SVG inscriptions that refer to the content of other inscriptions. This I'm super excited about because it's like there's going to be this on-chain library of code and HTML and content that all new inscriptions can have access to. So it's going to be an incredible fertile ground of like remixing. It's going to be dope. It's going to be amazing of like remixing content.
Wow. I love to hear it.
I'm very excited about that. Let's see. And then one fun thing is that the protocol allows any sort of content type. Like you can just include whatever content type you want. But the wallet and the website have like each content type needs to be supported by the website, so it knows how to display the inscription content. And so, but one fun thing is that users have been hacking the wallet to create illegal inscriptions with new formats.
That's nice.
That aren't supported. And then I'll go see an inscription that has a new format, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I got to support it now. So
that seems very in the spirit of graffiti inscriptions.
Yep.
The kids are just gonna fuck around with it, and you gotta figure out how to accommodate.
Yep. And so that's why we have GIFs. Somebody uploaded a GIF of a parrot.
Yeah, the guy
vibing. Yeah. So I had to add GIF support. Somebody added a video, like a Chinese New Year, like Happy New Year video. So I had to add video support. And then somebody uploaded a PDF of the Bitcoin white paper. And so I had to add PDF support. So that's really fun. I obviously can't add support for everything. Things have to be really broadly supported by browsers because I don't want to add support for a format that a user will create an inscription with, and then it like won't display on 50% of browsers. So they have to be broadly supported formats. But there's a format that you think should be in an inscription. Hack the code and make an inscription, and maybe I'll see it and implement it.
Nice.
Yep.
Call to action.
Call to action. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. So that's what's next.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. 2023 about to be Ordinal Inscriptions
popping
year.
The fuck off.
Yeah.
I want to get provenance and collections done by Bitcoin Miami.
Yeah. You should do like a workshop at Bitcoin Miami.
Yeah.
For
totally.
inscriptions.
Yeah.
I mean, you should just do inscription workshops. Like I want to make inscriptions so that, I can cash in early on this new budding field of
totally.
Ordinals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like you just need to. I mean, people are already making them though. It's not even like you need to force them to make them.
Yep.
Like it's happening.
But yeah, I want to get the word out. I want to do some IRL inscription workshops.
Yeah, no, you really should.
Oh yeah, and in February, I think February 11th or 13th or something, I don't remember, at Bitcoin Park in Nashville, I'm going to be doing an inscriptions workshop.
Okay, so in person, so your opportunity to learn inscriptions.
That's right.
Happening at Bitcoin Park in Nashville. We'll link in the bio. We have to shill other things.
What do we have to shill?
We have to shill that we have a discount code for Bitcoin Miami, which I just said you should host another inscriptions workshop at. So I guess we'll see TBD on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But assuming that you have a workshop at a Bitcoin Miami and you also want to attend Bitcoin Miami, you should use code HELL, HE
double hockey sticks.
HE double hockey sticks to get 10% off your ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And then we make money.
Yeah, we make money. Yeah.
Woo! So
that we're just going to degen right into rare ordinals.
Yeah, we're going to use it all on inscription fees.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so do that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I think you
Don't
should.
we have a river code too?
Yeah, I'll link that.
Okay.
If you want to sign up for River.
Yeah, River. Yeah,
I'll link that
River
as well.
River has the best swag. We have our River $50 billion Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, very sick.
That's our like PR material from River.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely. I mean, I feel like just doing workshops and getting people learning how to make inscriptions, you know?
Yep.
Maybe like post a video or something on how to do it, a tutorial.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I guess like, is there anything else that, you know, assuming people are fired up hearing this and they want to get involved, what can they do?
They should go to ordinals.com.
Of course they should go to ordinals.com.
And
If they haven't already, they've fucked up.
Admire the fine descriptions. They should read the Ordinal Theory Handbook at docs.ordinals.com. And they should go to github.com/Casey/ord and get the wallet themselves so they can make some inscriptions.
So they pull from GitHub? What is it?
Really, they just in this case, they just download from GitHub.
But don't you do like GitHub pull? I don't remember.
Yeah,
like
you could
command line.
You could check out the code from the command line, build it from source.
Instead, you could just download it.
Yeah, there's also a releases page where we put up pre-built binaries that people can download from.
Oh, okay.
But building from source always recommended, and then if you build from source, you can hack your own weird content types.
There you go.
Yep.
Call to action.
Yep.
Make some inscriptions. Wow.
Yeah, let's go.
Exciting times.
I'm super stoked. Everything has gone. The launch has gone really well. People seem to like it.
People have made so many.
There's like 90 inscriptions already.
Yeah, it's very cute.
We're adding features. The Ordinal Discord is popping off.
What is Jolly?
Jolly, there was an inscription on Signet that was one of my favorites. That was just this like scribbled pixel art that said "Jolly Big Penis." And I was like, I loved that pixel art. It's so bad. And then when we launched mainnet, like obviously it was on Signet. We didn't have that. And I was like on Twitter, I was like, can Jolly please reinscribe the Jolly Big Penis? And so Jolly obliged. And now Jolly is like this meme. Jolly has like the only thing we know about, like gender not confirmed, like only thing we know about is their giant penis. They've transcended gender.
Yeah.
There are other inscriptions that reference Jolly. That like refer to Jolly.
You're creating a whole mythos.
Yeah, mythos. There's lore. Yeah.
Yeah, I love to see it. Yeah, we'll go participate. Ordinals.com.
Go crazy. Ordinals.com. Yeah.
Go crazy. Should we sign off? Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Thanks everyone.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
time.
Bye.